Hello everyone, Swez here, back with another video. And in this video, I want to answer this question to say, can you be able to pay for your master's tuition fee using the money that you have earned from a part-time job? Now, I get this question from many people. They get to contact me to say, Wezi, I've been given an offer by such a university and I'm planning to come. I don't have the money, I haven't been given a scholarship. Can I be able to come and get a job and pay for my fees? Now, I always give some advice, which I thought I would give in this video as well, in case you have found yourself in that situation, to say you have an offer, you don't have a scholarship, and you're thinking, should I still go to the UK and maybe I'll find a job while I'm there and maybe I'll be able to pay it with the money that I get from the part-time job. All right, now I want to explain this because I've been in this scenario before. What I mean by that is that I was given a 50% scholarship, but the rest of the fees I had to pay, it was self-funded. So I had to work a job. I had to work on a part-time job and get the money and pay for the fees. So I know what I'm talking about. I've been in this scenario before now. So this is, I'll put it in two ways. It's possible, you can do that, but also it's challenging. Now I'll explain why it is challenging, why it is possible, and why it is also challenging. But now I really want you to get me to say there may be different factors at play, and I really want you guys to get me on this one. Now, let's start with this scenario to say, as much as I like to share about scholarships and say, you know what, if possible, apply for this scholarship, apply for this scholarship. Let's be honest, not everyone can be able to get a scholarship, right? So now that we understand that not everyone can be able to get a scholarship, what's left with those that can be able to get a scholarship? Self-funding, right? Now, what if those that have to do self-funding can fund themselves? What happens? That's why I'm here, to give you this advice, to say this is what you have to do. All right, so the first thing that I always like to do is to say, if possible, when you're applying for schools here in the UK, or let me just say if you're applying for schools abroad, I always say, if possible, check your financial status as an individual to say, can I afford to pay for this university in terms of the fee structure, right? Look at the fees itself and say, okay, as an individual, can I be able to pay for this, right? Now, I'm saying that mainly because you are not assured whether you get a scholarship or not, right? So you are just kind of like being 50-50 to say, what if I'm not given a scholarship? Will I be able to pay for this? Now, that's the first point that you have to take note of. Let's say the fees structures here in the UK for masters mainly range from around 15,000 to maybe around 23 or 24,000. Those are just the general prices. But for other courses like an MBA starts from 25,000 to maybe even 40,000 pounds. So the thing is, look at the course that you're applying for and see if you're able to afford it, to fund your studies, right? Now, always having the hope for a scholarship in case it works, right? Now, the second thing that you have to do is check if there are scholarships for that course or just general scholarships that you can use. Now, if you can't, this is the advice that I always give to people. When you're applying for a scholarship, for an offer in a university, always also make sure that you can pay for the deposit fees, because the moment that you've been given an offer, it always comes as a conditional offer, because there are conditions that you have to fulfill, right? So one of the fulfillments is for you to pay a deposit fee. The other one mostly is to do with maybe English tests or English certificate, or pretty much these two. Now, for this deposit fee, it's the most important one, right? Because if you haven't paid the deposit fee, then there's no space for you. So make sure that you always see if you can be able to afford even to pay the deposit fee, because most of the times, if you're applying for a scholarship, sometimes they don't consider the deposit fee, right? Or by the time that the scholarship is out, maybe the school is already telling you, you know what, you have to pay the deposit fee for you to secure your place. So make sure that you know that you can be able to afford the deposit fee. And now the deposit fees range from 1,500 to maybe 6,000, just depends on the school, but also it depends on the course itself in terms of the fees of the course. So make sure that you know that you can be able to afford the deposit fee, and check if there's a scholarship, and just for you to have an idea. Now, the thing is, let's give an example using the actual figures here. Let's say you applied for a course and the fees is £18,000. Let's just say for the whole 1 year, right? Now they say the deposit fee for you to pay is £2,000. Now, let's say you have the money, you have the £2,000, you pay it up. It means you have £16,000 left for you to pay, right, as tuition fees. Now, I'll give two scenarios: that you get a scholarship or you don't get a scholarship. Now, let's say you get a you apply for a scholarship. Let's say 50%. You've been able to get. If I've been able to get 100%, cool. We won't talk about that in this video. But now you have applied for a scholarship. You have been given 50%, or let's say anything, maybe 50 or 60 or whatever percent you've been given, but maybe it's just half. We'll just use 50 in this example. Now that means from the 16,000, you have um, 8,000 for from the scholarship, and 8,000 from for you to pay yourself. Now, in other circumstances, they may take 50% of the whole tuition fees, but in this case, you take 50% after you've paid the deposit fee. That's the 16,000. I hope you're getting me, right? So let's say you have 8,000 for you left to pay. Now, what I always advise, if possible, make sure you have half of this when you're coming to the UK to study, right? That's £4,000. I'll say it again. If possible, make sure you have half of, let's say, 8,000 for you to come and pay when you start your studies. Mainly because you have to pay it in installments, and most of the times they may give you maybe 3, 4, maybe 6 installments, and they specify to say you have to pay by October, you have to pay by February, you have to pay by April, you have to pay by this month. So they may put it in such installments to say the moment you come, you have to be paying 1,000 for, let's say, in a space of maybe 6 months. Let's say you come in September, in October you have to pay maybe 1,000. In February you have to pay another 1,000, and in March you have to pay another one. So they break it down. So if possible, if you have that money, I will advise to say come. Why I'm saying come is because when you come, I'm assured that you can be able to get a job. You can be able to pay the rest, the remaining 4,000. I'm sure you can be able to pay that from a part-time job, 100%. I'm 100% sure that you can be able to do that. Now, it won't be easy, as I said, mainly because one, you'll be doing school, you'll be trying to find money using the part-time job, which means you'll be working in between your class timetable, right? And then you have to find time to rest. You have to find, there's just a lot at play. So it won't be easy, but you can be able to pay it. But I also want to say, to some extent, you can deny yourself some social life, if you get what I mean, or some luxuries, because you're just focusing on, let me pay my fees, let me finish. Hey, now that's the first scenario, to say you've been able to get a scholarship and you have 8,000. You have, as I advised, say you should have at least half of that amount, which was 4,000. Make sure you come, and you'll be able to get a part-time job, and you'll be able to pay. Now let's go to the other scenario, to say you applied for the course, it's still 18,000, and you have the deposit to pay, and then the remaining amount is 16,000. You applied for a scholarship, you were not given a scholarship, but the remaining fees is 16,000. Now the question is, can I come to the UK and get a part-time job and pay for 16,000 within a year? I'll be honest with you. I like to be honest here, to say that may be impossible, or there may be a need for a miracle for you for that to happen, right? Because for you to earn 16,000 within the whole year that you're working, actually you'll be working part-time, likely that is 20 hours per term time. So that is not a lot of money that you'll be getting. You'll be getting enough for you to survive, and enough for you to, yeah, just to survive, to be honest, and to pay maybe fees. Now, I'm I'm trying to be honest here, to say if you have 16,000 for you to pay, then I would advise to say, you know what, maybe defer the place and then seek to come the following year, if there is no any other means of you to find funding. If the only means that you are relying on is to, okay, you know what, I'll go and then I'll be able to get a part-time job, I'll pay the 16,000, I would say that is tricky. So tricky, because you can get yourself into trouble when you come here, because I mean, you cannot be able to finish the fees, and then you will likely work extra time. You might as well get yourself in trouble, right? So my advice is this, at the time of making this video, to say, if you can be able to reduce your fees to anything less than £10,000, and then you should have 50% of that amount, that when you come you'll be able to pay it up. I'll say come. But if you have deducted everything that you have, the money that you have, the deposit, or whatever amount that you have, and you have 10,000 above, I would advise to say maybe consider coming the following year, or maybe seek extra funding, because when you come here, trust me, you have a lot to juggle. You will really have a lot to juggle. You have a lot to do. Pay for your fees, survive. There's just a lot. So that's the advice that I always give, to say, if possible, if it's below 10,000 and you have the 50%, go ahead, come. You'll be able to pay the remaining, let's say 4,000 or 6,000 or 5,000. You can be able to find your way to pay that amount. Now, let me be honest to say, other people have had different scenarios. I'm just talking from what I've been able to observe, either from myself and other people that I've known, to say you don't want to get yourself into debt, right? Because the moment you do that, it's a little bit tricky. So yeah, that's it, guys. I hope you do find this helpful. And yeah, I thought I'd just share my thoughts to say, you know what, it's possible for you to pay for your fees on a part-time job, but it's challenging. But also the fees has to be a little bit lower, right? Now, let me just say, as I say, the different experiences for different people. I'm sure maybe other people have been able to pay maybe £16,000 within a year by working a part-time job. I'm sure some other people have been able to do that, but I'm just saying it's a little bit challenging, right? So yeah, I hope you find this video helpful. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.